Hi, this is Majinoni, and I got some comic reviews for you. We have Ultimate Spider-Man 15, Ultimates 15, Spider-Man, and AVX Avengers. I'm just going to do this one first. This one is one of these that it's definitely out of the war continuity, I guess you can say, because they give you the two-page spread of great big battle, and then the next thing you know, you have a breaking into S.H.I.E.L.D., where they had all the weapons from Fear itself, and Spider-Woman and Hawkeye are having a lover's quarrel, fighting Negative Man or Mr. Negative, whatever his name is, and with his demon ninja posse, and trying to stop the theft. And then, later on, you get Steve and Thor and Iron Man just chilling out eating. So it's kind of like, I want to go, what happened to the fight? You know, I think all that was really necessary in this is just maybe a little thing saying 10 hours later after the big battle. Or you know, something like that. That would have been nice. But I guess they can't be bothered with something like that. But what it looks like they're doing is they're just setting up what's to come later on because Madam Hydra is involved. Now, the art is okay. I mean, I really like Simonson, especially with the old Thors, but I just don't like him on the Avengers. It just, when you look at Hawkeye's goofy face like that, I just don't like it. Also, I mentioned this earlier in my pull list, this cover looks straight out of Fear itself. Granted, while you can say it's a Fear itself tie-in because of the weaponry, that's what it looks like. It's a recycled cover. I wish they used an updated cover instead. If anything, this is just a transition issue. It doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, other than setting the stage for Hydra in the future. I wish they would kind of drop the Hydra part of it, because I don't want to see them anytime soon, since we've gone through a lot of the Hydra at the beginning. The quarrel between these two, I have a feeling some people are going to like it. I liked it for all of 2 panels and then grew tired of it because it was just bickering. It was just bicker. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. So that's this one. Next up is Spider-Man number 5. This was it was a nice way of ending the story, but it didn't have as much bang as I wanted it to have until the very end. Now, you get this tease that it's over, and then suddenly it's not, because Mysterio goes, I know I'm 10 steps ahead of you, and I've planned for blah, blah, blah. So he almost gets away. You have a nice little interaction between Miles and Mysterio. Eventually, Mysterio gets caught again, and Parker goes to his world. And it was just kind of this ending. No, it's not ending. It's going to keep going, and then it ends again. The best part, and this is the part that infuriates me the most, to rage, is Peter's at home, and he's like, geez, I wonder if my world has a Miles Morales. And he Googles him, and he's like, oh my. And I'm like, oh my, why don't you just tell me what it is, because I want to know now, and I don't want to wait until Bendis finally figures out what he wants to do with Miles. And so that just really infuriated me. Raged. But other than that, I thought this was a really good a really good series. I would have liked to see more fluff at the end with the Mysterio battle, but I mean, come on, let's be realistic. Thor, Spider-Man, and Iron Man versus Mysterio, it's not a real battle. So I'm okay with it ending without as big of a fight. But the real payout is what's to come next. Okay, let's do this one, since this one doesn't really have a spoiler. This is another, I guess you can say this is another solid issue with Bendis, and what it's doing is it's partially absolving Miles of guilt from his uncle's death, and it's setting the stage for Miles not having to worry about school while battling crime and doing the United We Stand part. Now, I think part of it's an easy way out of it, but it's a logical situation in the sense the school closes down because of all the trouble, which I can kind of see happening, especially if there's riots and stuff like that in New York, considering that was going on in Ultimate X-Men. Now, the other part is a detective who was an ex-SHIELD agent who volunteers that information, gives Miles information about his uncle and how he was using a stolen suit, which might have backfired on him and caused an explosion, and basically he killed himself. So it kind of absolves him of that, but I kind of like the idea of Miles still living with that guilt for, as a driving force to, like make him a better character or a better person. And, I kind of like how Uncle Ben and Peter, how that relationship is. While I guess you can say it's almost exact in the sense it's Spider-Man and, Miles and his uncle, but I still like that being there. It's still there in a sense because he's still involved in the death, and they're going to touch on the storyline again. Because that SHIELD agent's not going to give up. She knows something's going on, but like I said, the key thing, the whole driving thing is let's put everything to the past, and let's go to United We Stand because there's trouble on the West Coast. And Miles wants to join the Ultimates, which is probably the best thing for him to do to develop as a character, in terms of superpowers, because that's the best place, safest place to fight. I mean, granted, you're going to fight gigantic villains, but you got Cap, Thor, and Iron Man to back you up. Now, Ultimates number 15. I'm sure I'm going to throw out a spoiler towards the end. I'll give you the warning so that way you can stop. But I think this kind of has to be addressed, and I don't really consider it a spoiler because I think I've waited long enough for this news to get out through Facebook, through Newsarama, and other comic websites about what happens at the end of this issue. Now, what we have is a general election going on, and you have to determine who's going to be the next president. You have the majority of the people not figuring out what they want to do. You have people getting killed, and you have troublemakers. So you have Cap basically getting angry at the president for not allowing him to do his thing to save people, and Cap basically crosses the line in the sand saying, okay, I'm basically going to renounce my title as Captain America, and then I'm going to do what needs to be done to protect people. Now, I think all of that's fine and dandy, and I think you really needed to do something like that because it's definitely showing how, I guess you can say, it's how dangerous the situation is, or how critical everything is going on, especially when you have somebody in the background manipulating things, and they're about to make a big play, especially now that they've been in contact with Hydra, and they also messed around with these mechanical wasp-like things, and they basically turned these things into killers, like a hunter-killer type robot. Now, this is the spoiler part, so if you don't want to know the ending, just stop now, and you can skip to the code that I'm going to give out at the end, and you can enjoy that. But otherwise, oh, you know what, I shouldn't give out the code because you guys are just going to skip to the end. So you're going to have to go to the Facebook page to get the code, and I'm not going to put it on the Facebook page until after this video loads. So, yeah. Anyways, Captain America becomes President of the United States. He's a write-in candidate. And, I think I was kind of, part of me was kind of shocked, like, why would they do something like that? Considering, I know it's election time and they always like to do, like, they put their weight behind one candidate or another. But I actually thought, right after that initial shock, I thought this is actually a good idea. And I think it's a good idea because if you look at it in terms of the story, what's going to happen here is you need somebody who will do what needs to be done without worrying about polls. They're going to go in, they're going to get their hands dirty, they're going to take care of business, and they're going to do what's right. This world, like our world, you have too many public interests. You have a president who won't do the right things, and you have other people who are trying to do other things to sabotage anything that could be potentially good, and it's just craziness. And when you have the country, it's, you know, basically split, almost split in half, and you have groups of people trying to succeed from the main world. You have rioting, you have the concentration camps or the mutants. You really need to have somebody in charge who will just say, I don't care, that's wrong, and we're going to fix it. And I think that's why you need somebody like Captain America to do it, because things are going to get done. Now, where it's going to get interesting, I think, is at the end. Is he going to keep his title as president? Is he going to pass it to somebody else? What's going to happen? Who's going to be his vice president? You know, is he going to give it to Iron Man? Is he going to give it to somebody else? You know, it's not like heck, he should give it to Nick Fury, you know. And heck, he can even pardon Nick Fury. So I think there's a lot of things that we can go, you know, during the story and after the story. And I think that's why they did it right. They did it right by putting Captain America as president. Also, while he's doing the right thing, you're going to have the jerks on the other side, behind the line, I should say, who are going to say, you can't do that because you're president of the United States and we can't put you at harm's risk. What happens if you die? And he's just going to say, you know what? He's going to say, I can't, my phone doesn't work. I lost signal. So that's why I think there's a lot of dynamics that you can put into this book. And I think they're on the right path. I just hope that they keep on the right path, because the Ultimate line has been a mess. There's been some good, and there's been some horrendous storytelling. And to me, like, during that horrendous storytelling period, it looked like fan fiction and people who just want to throw in the villains that they've always wanted to rewrite, and so that way they can take credit for it. I did this. I recreated this villain. And it was just like, to me, like, if you look at the Ultimate Spider-Man, you look at old Ultimate X-Men, all it was a checklist. Okay, we did Apocalypse, now we did Carnage, we did, you know, Venom. You know, they were more concentrated on doing that kind of process than telling an interesting and compelling story. And I think what the Ultimate Comics is doing now, this line, is they're now interested in telling an interesting and compelling story and not going through the checklist. And I think that's why this line is a lot stronger for it. People may not agree with what's going on because it's a little radical, but I think if you step back and look at the bigger picture, you know, this is really good entertainment. It could be better written, maybe they could have a little better artist, but if you look at the overall package of what they're trying to accomplish, they're doing a fantastic job. And I think the early versions of, not the early, but the first a relaunch of the Ultimates proved that. Ultimate Spider-Man, while it did go through a weak period of art, it's back on track again. And Ultimate X-Men, for all of the pain I went through, it's starting to pay off. Because it's nice to see the X-Men actually doing something on the offense. You know, we hear time and time again, this superhero team is about a team that's going to take it to the bad guys and do it offense. And you know what happens. After the first storyline, it's done. But this time, they're actually doing it. You actually have a goal in sight. So once they've finally reached that goal, whether that's, you know, freeing everybody, putting the country back together again, then we have a new springboard for fresh stuff. So I'm very hopeful for that, to what's to come. So anyways, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. I'm curious to know what you guys think of Spider-Man, and what you guys also think of the Ultimates. Watch the Facebook link that's maybe right around here, and I'll put a code there after this thing updates. So until next time.